Hi, Amare Salutem here. We make videos to help support your wellness journey. In today's video, we're going to make some vegan mozzarella cheese. Since completely turning over to the vegan diet and vegan lifestyle, I have been on the search for some cheese that tastes kind of close to the real thing. I haven't found any so far. I personally don't really like the store-bought cheeses. I don't want to name any brand names, but I find that they have a lot of fillers and preservatives, and they're not necessarily the most healthy option. I came across this recipe from noracooks.com, and I thought it would be interesting to make. I've tried to make several vegan cheeses before, and I have failed pretty hard. This is supposed to be a meltable cheese. So I used pretty much the same ingredients. I did make a tiny modification as I usually do with things, but I'm excited to try this. I haven't tried it yet, so I thought it would be a good idea to just capture it on video, and I'll give my opinion on how it comes out. So let's take a look at what ingredients are in this recipe. I am going to quadruple this recipe. So I have 2 cups of cashews, 4 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 4 tablespoons of lemon juice, 2 teaspoons of salt, and then a really important ingredient that I've actually seen in many store-bought cheeses too is tapioca starch. It also goes by tapioca flour. For this recipe, we're going to need a whole cup because I'm quadrupling it. And then I added some nutritional yeast. I have 4 tablespoons. I just really like the taste of it. It might not taste as mozzarella-like, but I'm okay with that. One thing I forgot to mention about the cashews is that you're going to need to soak them. How I soaked them was I boiled some water and then soaked them for about 5 minutes, and they should be nice and soft because you're going to be blending them, so you don't want it to be chunky. If you can leave it for more than 5 minutes, I highly recommend. You're also going to need a substantial amount of water in this recipe, so I'm going to need about 5.2 cups. So this is only 2, I'm going to have to refill this. Okay, so all of these ingredients that I just showed you are going to go into a high-powered blender. I'm just using the Ninja, so I don't have a fancy Vitamix. I find the Ninja works just as well. I'm going to add the cashews first, and then the salt, the nutritional yeast, apple cider vinegar, the lemon juice. I think this is meant to give a tangy taste. I think using some miso paste would also taste really well. I've used that in some of the cheeses I've made before. We have our 1 cup of tapioca flour or tapioca starch. You want to be careful there, you don't make a mess like I just did. And then I'm going to start adding my water, so I'm going to add like 2 cups at a time. So 2 cups, and then blend a little bit. Add 2 more cups of water. So it's going to be very watery. Then I'm going to go ahead and add my last like 1 1/4 cup or so. I'm kind of nervous because it's so watery. Okay, so now that this has been all blended, the next step is to add all of the contents to a pot and to just put it on medium heat and then continue to stir. And so it says to stir often. because it might clump up. So it's been about 5 minutes and it's just now starting to get a little thick. It's still not too thick. I bumped it up to medium high heat, but I want to make sure that I'm stirring it because I don't want it to clump up too much. I went back and read the instructions and it said that it will be like one big mass of vegan cheese. So I'm kind of curious as to how that will look. And I did make extra, so I plan on using this cheese on some pizza that I'm making. The instructions also say that it's better if you use the cheese right away. So if you're making pizza or lasagna or something like that, because if you put it in the fridge, then it might firm up a little bit too much and it might not be as elastic and stretchy. So I'm hoping this will thicken up. We're getting there. All right, so it's definitely thickening up a lot more. And it's kind of clumping almost. Once it starts clumping more, I'll show you what it looks like. As you can see, once I lift this up, it's a little bit clumpy, and that's what it's supposed to look like. It's not gonna be the typical cheese that you buy in the store, or at least that's what I gather from the instructions. So I'm thinking this will probably be done in a few minutes, but it's really at this point clumping fast, so it must be the tapioca flour really doing its job. And so I'm going to wait till it's like thicker than this and it kind of completely goops up. And then I'll show you what that looks like in a sec. So I think this is what they meant when they said that it'll all kind of blend together. It's kind of hard at this point to really stir it, and it is kind of one big kind of blob. I don't know what other way to say it. So I'm going to take this off the heat because I don't want it to burn. All right, so we're done with our cheese, and I'm going to show you how it looks on this pizza. I'll show you how it looks before I make it, and then I'll also show you what it looks like after. So let me lower the camera down so you can see. So I made my own pizza dough. I made it from sprouted wheat flour, and the reason why I like to use sprouted is because it is more easily digestible than even whole wheat flour. I typically do try and stay away from wheat products, but I will have some sprouted grains. And then I also made this sauce. It's just tomato sauce, some herbs. I used like an Italian herb, and then garlic and onion powder, a little bit of olive oil, not very much though, because I try to avoid cooking with refined oils too. But again, this is really easy to make. If you are interested, let me know in the comments and I can show you how I make this dough and then also the sauce. So it's difficult to spread, but I don't think it's going to be too huge of a problem. There's going to be some gaps maybe where I'm not able to cover all of the sauce, but I'm not too picky about that. I think it'll turn out okay. Now I'm going to add my toppings. If you're one of those people who doesn't like pineapple on pizza, you might want to look away. All right, so I'm going to put these in the oven at 450 for about 20 to 25 minutes or so, or until I see that the cheese is a little bit browned. And stay tuned because I will show you what this looks like after. So I just took the pizza out of the oven and I'll show you a close-up of what it looks like. I didn't put it on broil so the cheese isn't too brown. I actually put it in for a little bit longer, so it was in overall about I think 30 minutes. And then as you can see, the cheese, I wouldn't say it's stretchy exactly, but it's more of a soft cheese, so it's not going to be as hard. If you've ever tried Daiya cheese, you might have noticed it doesn't really melt too well. I did taste it, and I would suggest using a bit more flavor. So the original recipe didn't call for nutritional yeast. I would recommend maybe even adding some more spices, or instead of just water, because remember we added a whole bunch of water, maybe adding a vegetable bouillon into that, using some vegetable broth, or even some almond milk. It would definitely change the taste, but I personally would like a little bit more flavor. But I think it's a really good base cheese to work from, especially if you're looking to put it on pizza or lasagna or something like that. I hope you liked this recipe, and let me know in the comments below if you did end up making it or if you have any suggestions. Thank you so much for watching, and there will be more recipes and more wellness videos to come. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.